WIBTA for not going on a family vacation because my brother wants to bring his dog. Pre-COVID I, 33M, would go on family vacations with my family. My parents, late 50s, brother, 27, and sister, 29. These occurred about every other year. For a multitude of reasons we haven't done a trip since 2018. I am married and we have an 18-month-old. My sister has a boyfriend. And my brother has some sort of terrier and no GF I know of. My brother has morphed into a self-described dog dad, and based off social media seems to rarely do things without the dog. We live in the same city, but different areas, and we don't see him all that much. The few times I've been around his dog it behaves fine. It's too friendly for me and I can't speak to how it behaves over multiple days or around babies. My parents have a Verbo beach house in Florida booked. In a few weeks the deadline for a full refund for canceling is coming up and my parents need to know if we are in. We live in the west side of the USA, so we'd be flying. I found out my brother plans to bring his dog. My parents aren't thrilled about it, but it is what it is. Those are my parents' words. I'm not a dog person. I despise them on airplanes. I do not want to travel with the dog. Tentatively we are on the same flight. I do not want to stay the week in the same house as the dog. I do not want activities based on being dog-friendly. And I do not want the dog around my son. Our parents want to stay out of it and have us hash it out. I broached the topic with my brother. Essentially he isn't flexible on the dog. It is his family and it is a family vacation. He says my 18-month-old will be far more annoying and loud than his dog. He seems firm on this and I'm ready to pull out of the trip. If I don't go, the trip may fall apart. WIBTA? Nah, though I think this is a really weird hill to die on since the dog is admittedly small, well-behaved, and non-aggressive. Also, as others have pointed out, this vacation is 100% going to revolve around your toddler, not the dog. Honestly, I'd rather vacation with a small dog in the house than an 18-month-old. And no, I don't hate kids. I have one. Which is why I know a vacation with a toddler isn't particularly easy or relaxing. Nah, you don't want to spend time with a dog. Your brother doesn't want to go on vacation without his dog. Neither of you is wrong. But your vacation desires aren't compatible. Sounds like your family vacation plans don't really work anymore. Nah, you have a baby. He has a dog. Dogs can be annoying on planes. Babies can be annoying on planes. You don't want to do dog-friendly activities. Others may not want to do baby-friendly activities. If he wants to bring his dog, that's fine. Lots of people take dogs to beach vacations. If you don't want to go, that's your choice. But sounds like a shame for what appears to have been a nice family tradition. Nah, it's a fundamental incompatibility. If the trip isn't what you want, you are not an asshole for not going. YTA in his statement, he says my 18-month-old will be far more annoying and loud than his dog. Is absolutely true. Perhaps an unpopular opinion. But family isn't defined solely by squirting out an infant or having shared the same space. Pre-birth. He has told you that his dog is a non-negotiable. And I assume that your toddler is a non-negotiable. You hate dogs. He might hate kids. Neither is more or less valid. Your ideas are not compatible, but I'm calling you the a-hole because you believe your position is superior rather than just different. YTA. It's a small dog and you said it was well behaved. It's fair to ask the dog is kept away from the baby. A baby is a far more inconvenience than a dog. You can leave a dog home alone for a few hours if people want to eat at a nice restaurant. It's rude to bring a baby to a nice restaurant. They have bedtimes and they scream at movies. Kids are awesome, but you're on a different planet if you think the vacation is going to revolve around the dog. It's going to revolve around your baby. Nah, I'm not a big fan of dogs. But now that my kids are in their 30s and no grandkids in sight, I'm not a fan of babies and toddlers either. But I'd go anyway because I love my family and enjoy spending time with them. But if being around the dog is such a horrendous experience for you, then pull out of the trip and let them deal with whatever consequences there are for choosing the dog. Come back and updates us though. I'm curious how this plays out. I'm not a dog person. I wouldn't find it relaxing to be around them. And I wouldn't enjoy a vacation where I'd have to share space with someone's dog or tolerate the animal's company without much of a break. Similarly, I have a sibling who's married to someone who's not a kid person. They won't share vacation space with anyone under the age of 7. They don't find it relaxing. And their stance is that vacations are for relaxing. This seems like a nah thing. You shouldn't have to pay a lot of money and burn vacation time to tolerate an animal you don't want to be around. People who don't like children shouldn't have to pay a lot of money and burn vacation time to tolerate a person they don't want to be around. It's too bad the era of family vacations has come to a close. But in the words of the parents here, it is what it is. Info. Is there no separation possible in the beach house family activities? Can you and your child stay on a separate floor than your brother and his dog? Can you do separate activities and then have strict supervision, separation when everyone is back at the house? Info. Does your wife agree you guys shouldn't go, or does she think you're overreacting? Based on your comments, both your wife and you are in agreement about not wanting to go as neither of you feel comfortable around dogs and you don't want your child in a home with a dog. Let your brother know this. Let your parents know this and then don't go. Don't demand your brother leave his dog home, but you can set the expectation with your family that since life situations have changed since your last trip in 2018 and you are not comfortable sharing a space with an animal, your brother gets to make the decision whether he wants to bring his dog or not, and he also can set a boundary that he won't travel without him dog. That does not make with of you an awe. Personally, it sounds like it is time to adjust how these family trips work. Maybe everyone needs their own lodgings. Maybe you don't take a family trip until your child is older. Maybe they stop altogether. But as long as no one tries to guilt trip others into doing something they don't want, there is no awe. If this is the hill you want to die on, that is your choice, but you better tell your parents fast. NTA. I love my dog. He is an extremely gentle golden. Would I forcibly subject family or friends to him on a vacation? Of course not. Especially if someone had mentioned any being uncomfortable around him. There is also the whole unknown about how he acts around young children. Toddlers can completely intimidate even the most mellow of animals. Terriers, generally, are a bit more intense due to being hunting dogs and being closer in size to a toddler. Even if there were a compromise, I don't think based on your brother's comments that the trip would be enjoyable for anyone. He would resent your child or you would resent him for the dog. Not the best scenario for a vacation. Your parents. By non-committing or committing, this trip sounds like a nightmare for almost all concerned. Do everyone a favor. Graciously decline to attend. Whether or not the trip still occurs is not your responsibility. Nah, you're allowed to dislike dogs. You're allowed to decide you don't want to be around them. But I do feel you need to look at this from a more varied angle. You're expecting your brother to make sacrifices and cater to you, but would never consider it the other way around. I love dogs. I love children. I have 2 dogs and am pregnant. I can understand the limitations that comes with both. That said, knowing the limitations both present to not only myself but other people on vacation with me, I can tell you that you're being judgmental and not acknowledging what people are giving up for you and your family, while getting annoyed at just the idea of the dog coming. Because vacationing with an 18-month-old is much more restrictive and possibly stressful than a dog, especially to those that aren't responsible for them. As long as the dog is well behaved, babies cannot be left alone. Their only method of communication is crying. They rely even more so on a schedule and object loudly when it is broken. I would much rather be on an airplane with a dog than a baby. And honestly, you're the first person I have ever heard say differently. Also, if the dog is well behaved, it's actually healthier for your child to occasionally be exposed to animals. Nah, for the question at hand, you don't provide any information to show that the dog would be a hindrance to the vacation. Honestly, the information you do provide makes me think your brother is a responsible pet owner and that this is the kind of dog that would do okay on a trip like this. Really, all your ranting is just your personal opinion that you don't like dogs. That's perfectly okay. You're allowed to not like dogs. You're allowed to not want them on your vacation. You're allowed to be a grown-ass adult and not go on the trip. Just like your brother is allowed it maybe not like kids, or just prefer life on his own with his dog. And for what it's worth, an 18-month-old will undoubtedly be more annoying and disruptive than a well-trained dog. Nah, but your brother is correct about a toddler being more annoying than a well-behaved dog. Q. Why don't you want your toddler around a dog? Nah, he is allowed to bring his dog. Unless your parents who seem to be in charge of the trip tell him the dog is not invited, you are allowed to opt out of the trip. That said, I think there are plenty of compromises to be made here, but it seems like you and your brother might both be too stubborn for them. 1. Not all activities need to be based around the dog. Just like not all activities need to be based around your kid. The family group can split up for different stuff sometimes. Also, it is very easy to leave a dog at a vacation home. 2. Agree not to leave dog plus kid unsupervised. 3. Keep your bedroom door closed so the dog can't bother you in there. 4. Your brother keeps his dog off of you. When you say it's too friendly, I assume that means it jumps on you. He should prevent the dog from jumping on you and your kid. 5. Travel on different flights. NTA. Your parents don't want to be involved. Fine. Your brother is firm on bringing the dog. Fine. You don't want a vacation with a dog. Fine. You can pull out of the vacation. The end. My guess, and clearly yours, is that suddenly your parents will get involved and be upset at you once you pull out of the trip. But oh well. You don't want to deal with the dog on vacation, and I can appreciate that. And if your brother isn't willing to compromise and no one else will weigh in, you pull out of the trip. By the way, I would have a dog before I had a kid. I just don't have one because I live in an NYC apartment and travel a lot for work, and would rather vacation with a dog than a kid. I still agree with you, and your approach, and dogs are not as important as human children. Nah, can you meet them there but stay in a different place? If they want to do a dog-friendly activity that you don't, let them know you'll be doing something different that day. Make sure this is all understood before you go so there's no problems during it. Just as your brother feels he is doing the right thing for him, you have to do what you feel is right for your family. If you don't want to go, don't go. Families change. Often after a baby is born. Doesn't make you an aw. Makes you a nota. Dog person.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.